have to. Otherwise, I would say this space is yeah not going to survive because of if institutions come in, specifically if AI comes in, people can build anything anywhere. You might not need crypto as much as you do need it now. So we really need to go back to the roots. Thanks again, Emmanuel, Alex. Thank you so much for your time, both of you. Hopefully, I see you in our next spaces once again. Would be very cool. But now, for now, we go to our last spaces, which is going to be the last spaces of the day, which will be about where will the next big AI opportunity emerge? What is going to be the opportunities? Where does that lie? We have four speakers. We got Lei Lei from Kite. We got Vicky from BlockRun AI. We got Alex from Delta 4 Capital. And we got Ram from OpenLedger. Let's start with you, Lei Lei from Kite. Please give us a small introduction about yourself and what Kite AI is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to speak with everyone here. I'm Lei. I lead go-to-market at Kite, and I've been here for about 2 years. Been in the space for 5 years. Kite is basically building the AI payments blockchain and some core AI agentic infrastructure for the space. So yeah, very very excited to be hosted here on the AI Megaspace Day.
Absolutely, yeah, very cool to have you as well. Looking forward to your insights for sure. Next on my list is Vicky from BlockRun AI. Same question to you. Please give us a small introduction about yourself and what BlockRun AI is.
Hey, thank you for everyone for joining the call. My name is Vicky, founder of BlockRun. What we're doing actually have two sides. One side is we're tokenize the access for all the AI tools to help everyone to access all those AI tools permissionlessly with USDC offering. We'll talk about the premium lab large language models and the capability to make a phone call and the data vendor data inside like ask serve. We pack it up and then make it behind X4 too. Then you can pay as you go with no subscription. You can access permissionlessly with your AI agent. On the other side, offer Franklin and Cloud Router, which is our agent side, give you the open source tool. You can using that to be able to access our payment service to allow you to really experience AI solution without a credit card, without a subscription. On top of that, we even offer free open source models to allow you to just use it without pay. The reason for that is we believe we are getting into the space. Large language model actually act as a utility for everyone. For people underserved and for people don't have credit card, we expect people can directly access free models to give them a chance to learn what's going on in the world to help them be productive. So that's BlockRun's mission. Thank you, everyone.
Understood, understood. Next on my list is Ram from OpenLedger. Please give us a small introduction about yourself and what OpenLedger is.
Hey guys, good to meet you here. This is Ram. I'm one of the co-founders and co-contributors at OpenLedger. OpenLedger's major focus is to enable users to contribute data set and build AI models, right? So that's our core thesis, and we've done a lot of stuff beyond that. We've started enabling projects to use our models and build very specific verticalized applications. We believe in the concept of specialized models and verticalized data sets that enables these specialized models to be useful. This could be models that are customized on an open source or a skill set that's been provided to a cloud skill that is already there. So that's our focus, right? We have close to about 10 different projects building in the space, and there are projects that are working in the DeFi space, building for trading. There are projects that are working on companions. There are projects that are working on geolocations based, which are enabled by AI. So we're doing a bunch of stuff. We believe that decentralization can enable AI to be much more vertical by contributing data sets and making them much more enriched. And we're glad. So we are here in the industry for the last 2 years. We've been funded by Polychain and a couple of other major VCs in the space. They've launched in top exchanges like Binance, Upbit, and many more as well. So I'm glad to be here today and talk more about what we're doing.
Awesome, awesome. I think Alex is still coming, but considering the time, we are gonna start. Whenever he comes in, we can always give him an introduction. Obviously, um, throughout the day, because obviously this is the last panel, is one thing which is, well, I think everyone have agreed upon is like AI is it's the next big opportunity. Everyone is sort of having different takes on that, um, and obviously we have heard about how that works in trading, how it works in specific real world cases, but I would love to hear from you guys what you currently are seeing, because all of you are super close to the, well, AI fire. Um, what is currently sort of, in your opinions, from your perspective, the biggest opportunity in AI? And you can just open up your microphone, any of you guys, and take it.
Probably I
I can
can
All
I
start.
can
right.
go. Oh, sorry.
Everyone, everyone will talk. Oh, I, who
Go ahead,
first?
go ahead.
Okay. Yes, sure. Yeah, so I think like the biggest opportunity, like people have been talking more about right now, like bigger models, faster inference, and like better copilots and stuff. I think the biggest opportunity is still there in the model layer, but also there is significant impact on the data layer as well. Most people think that AI is fundamentally a compute problem, right? I think over the next few years it'll be compute, yes, but still also more of data ownership and specialization. I think we all know about this. Internet has been scraped, but it's just the initial tip of the iceberg, um, and everything has been trained on the same public corpus, right? So I believe the knowledge of the world is not just minimized on the internet. Models need more data sets and information coming from enterprises, communities, local cultures, industries, workflows, and many more. And I guess that's the focus we want to look at as well. I guess that's one of the biggest opportunities that we see. Um, there will be giant models out there, but these models will need to be specialized to be used in verticalized applications. There'll be more AI enabled verticals that will be coming in, applications that are building on top of AI that we already start to see. What Claude and OpenAI are doing is just kicking off the bucket, right? We've been seeing people building AI enabled twins. We've been seeing people build AI enabled trading co-pilots and stuff like that. So I guess across verticals like finance, travel, across verticals like robotics, biology, energy, every other sector that we see today, we need the AI to be much more verticalized and much more focused to that particular sector. And that's where I believe data will be the biggest moat. And I still continue to see that data will be the biggest opportunity in crypto and AI space. And that's our focus as well. And I think in incentivizing people to contribute data and using blockchain as a mechanism to make sure that it is traceable and immutable and rewardable to people who contribute data is very important. And we've seen great progress in that. We've done much bigger in terms of data contribution compared to any other player in the market, in terms of Hugging Face or any other larger players out there they were able to get in open source data, but in terms of contributing to the market in terms of valuable data and like rewarding people for contributing data. We are one of the first few guys that have done that and done that at a much more larger scale as well. So data is definitely the biggest opportunity that I see in the current space.
Um, Actually, I have a different opinion. First of all, I have a hard stop with 4 minutes. I think right now data layer actually quite interesting because if 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 use if we believe frontier model get better and better, is that we have the assumption the data layer will be um like a like a no use at all from because if frontier model just get better. So if that's the case, then it just general say data will be very, very important. I think it will be actually just cannot be so simple, right? Then you can say money is important, infra is important, electricity is important. That doesn't give us a very good thoughts about what really is the value capture. I think the data which AI haven't seen before, like for example, if you can figure out the physical lab data, which AI never learned, that data is important. But the data which is before is just a simple data processing, that data already lost any mode, is no value for anyone anymore. Because, for example, the weather data or something, like the LLM can give you roughly good information, except you have something valuable LLM cannot directly figure out. So that's my thoughts about the data side. So what's really, really important actually is you can only help the LM, the frontier lab models. If you are in that direction, you actually do something valuable. Like for example, if you are preparing the data to help the LM get better, then you are valuable. If you are just think about prepare some data to sell to LM, you quickly lose the value for that. So that's where I think it's just like data is valuable. It's just to oversimplify right now the market, the direction, and how fast the LM developing. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Vicky. Did you want to say more?
Yeah, I just say sorry. I have to drop. I really hope I'll keep talking, but I'll watch the record and hope we can have this conversation again. Thank you. Bye.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Vicky. Yeah, just to jump in here, I think just to add to the conversation, I agree with what Rand said in the beginning. If you look at where capitals flow to, the limelight has always been, in the big foundation models, compute, all of that space. But what I think is a bit underrated and why we're building in that space is the infrastructure layer between agents and real economy. And in order to trust your agents to actually transact for you, things like agent identity, programmable wallets, the verification between humans to agent authorization is really important. And so if you look at what's been catching a lot of attention and what's been shipped in the last 3 months, Visa's created their Visa Intelligence Commerce team. MasterCard has shipped like Agent Pay, verifiable intent. Stripe's obviously launched MVP with Tempo, and Coinbase's X42 is basically had over 150 million in transactions. So I think looking at this intersection is really exciting. And that's why Kite recently launched a Kite Agent Passport, which basically allows users to go onto Cloud Code or Codex, and with a single command line, you can basically purchase goods at major merchants. And what we've done is put in certain guardrails. So, how much you can spend, the amount of time that you have before you transact. And then I think broadly speaking, it's very early in the sector, but there's 3 big categories that you'll see growing over time. So one is, API calls, and the average agentic payment transaction size is still about 30 cents per transaction. So it is a lot of micro payments. It is a lot of developers going to, access research and paying for specific API, sources. And then the second one that, is earlier stage, but has seen a lot of heat and a lot of attention is agentic commerce. So, a lot of the big payments companies, as I mentioned, and big merchants are all looking at, how can they get greater volume or, solve some of their users' existing pain points through agentic flows to purchase goods at merchants. And then the third part is basically agentic trading. So especially with the passage of, you know, Genius Act and Clarity Act making a lot of progress, there's a lot of growth in like, you know, tokenization of like equities and many other areas. So a lot of the big, you know, whether it's exchanges or tokenization platforms and stablecoin issuers are, you know, all looking into kind of the agentic trading space as well. So yeah, I think those are the things that we're really focused on, and I think is, you know, hugely interesting to keep a pulse on and see what comes next.
Interesting, interesting. It sort of brings me perfectly to the next question. And like one thing which we obviously have seen in crypto is a little bit of like that fat thesis, fat protocol thesis, sorry, whereby most of the value is being captured historically, that is, and now we see that slowly but surely changing. But historically, most of the value was captured on the infrastructure level, the L1 level or the L2 level. I'm wondering, where do you guys feel, sort of what would be sort of the next wave? Will it be infrastructure? Because I hear data, I have heard data. I have also, Leia, also have you heard of, saying about, hey, infrastructure is just very important. Vicky came from another direction, which I would love to explore, but unfortunately she's not here anymore. So do you guys think it's infrastructure, or do you think applications will be the next wave, or maybe something else, another sort of emerging tech pillar, which I have not been covering?
Maybe I can take that again. So I think the next wave is definitely at the intersection. Historically, the biggest technological shift happened when like two big paradigms collide, right? Any two big tech collide together. Like if you take a look at the app revolutions, right? Like where Uber and all that happened, it happened because there was cloud and there was also apps and mobile that was thriving. So you had access to the cloud and you had access to on device, which can easily call for service. And like even if you take a look at crypto, right? Crypto is still one of the biggest thing that happens in crypto is DeFi, which is against decentralization and finance together. So I guess the next narratives will be anything that comes along with AI, right? Intersection of AI plus social, AI plus crypto, AI plus robotics, biology, AI plus energy, and stuff like that. And also, I believe that personally, like I've been thinking that crypto AI has been always put out there that it's just a token play, right? I think that's massively misunderstood. It's just people just think about okay, that's there to just putting tokens on AI, but I guess it's much more there, right? I've spoken more about this. AI systems need data marketplaces. They need provenance. They need attribution. You need to showcase where the any kind of data comes from or how the model behaves. You need to showcase identity. You need to showcase incentives. There needs to be governance in any AI tool or an agent on how an agent behaves. Blockchain really scales that at much more larger internet scale, right? Today, most of the problems that we might face in AI when AI is applied and in apps and agents, blockchains can solve that, right? And I think that that's what we want to see. We don't just see blockchain only to be a service. DeFi. But again, there is also this coordination part of blockchain which can be used for AI. I think that's massive and that's big. And this is where there is intersection. This is where um, blockchain as an infrastructure can support AI and be an intersection between these two worlds. And like for example, even we use blockchain, trace it on the blockchain, we showcase on our blockchain the provenance. We showcase attribution and prevent data poisoning from happening. Right? We showcase attribution and show who owns the data. There is provenance that's being shown here. So all of that, right? If an AI agent transacts autonomously, who manages that? How are wallets guarded there? How are blockchains used to have security layers to protect that? So these are the critical problems in AI. I think we can solve using blockchain. The more autonomous internet becomes, the more need for blockchain that is there. So I definitely believe there is intersection where the next big boom is, and AI crypto obviously is the intersection that we're all working in, and crypto AI needs crypto as much as crypto needs AI. So I think that that's going to be the biggest wave that we've started seeing happening, and we've started personally getting benefit out of that. And I'm sure that there are other players who are building very important stuff like Kite, who are building on the agent space. So there is massive opportunities in this space between how we can support AI agents and apps and make them much more protected than what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it is the intersection of AI and, other industries. And I guess the way I see it is, more broadly speaking, looking at the general kind of marketplace out there, in a few years, I think of the winners don't necessarily look like AI only companies. It's really about AI being embedded inside a lot of the traditional industries out there. So I think, it's about uh, value capture inside companies, so margin expansion. So for example, there's obviously tons of news all the time about different industries looking at kind of automating some of their lower value or administrative tasks. And there's a growing number of companies looking at, employing like forward deployed engineers to basically re-engineer their existing business flows. And you have, actually a lot of private equity companies using, a lot of their capital to help their portfolio companies buy distribution, and then re-engineering existing processes through like employing forward deployed engineers, or companies that can also help you implement how to make your businesses more AI native. So I think that's actually what you'll see a lot of more and more in the next few years. So it's a lot of your traditional businesses like the legal industry, um, you know, like insurance, a lot of these industries where there's a lot of regular work, whether it's like contract review, paralegal work, judgment calls in ambiguous situations, things like that, LLMs actually do a really great job of. And so you'll see, kind of like a lot of this value capture happening inside these companies as AI transforms their business, and there's greater margin expansion.
That's very interesting that you mention that, because I think you guys both sort of agree upon the fact that, hey, AI will have significant impacts on industries. That significant impact will be different for every industry, depending a little bit on how they're structured. And I'm sort of wondering, and this is a little bit of future talk, obviously, but what do you guys think operationally, or maybe behavioral shifts, which might be caused by AI, what most people currently just do not see? Because let's be really frank, earlier, I'm not sure if you have heard earlier panels, but most of the earlier panelists said like, well, AI is here, but not a lot of people realize it yet, how big it will be. People sort of lose, some industries lose jobs right now, which seems to be the beginning. And I'm sort of wondering, do you guys see like a bigger operational / behavioral shift, or yeah, what do you guys see in the future, considering or sort of assuming that AI will evolve over time?
Sorry, I did not hear you. I'm not sure if it's me or the same for everyone else, but
Oh,
you're breaking up a lot.
am I breaking up now? Let me see. Oh,
I-
I
I can
think that,
actually hear you fine,
okay.
but maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think Ram, whenever you were speaking, I think it's a little bit connectivity issue on your side, possibly because sometimes you were cutting out. Before actually to the next question, I see Alex joined for the last question. Alex, give us a
Hello?
small introduction about yourself and what you do.
Hey, I appreciate it, and sorry for being late. So as you guys know, my name is Alex Golding, right? I've been a VC for the last 5+ years. I was early employee at Solana and helped run their internal CVC, investing into most of the unicorns there and giving birth to that ecosystem. Then I left and went to Delphi Ventures, where I was for 4.25 years, working on both crypto projects and AI projects. As you guys know, Delphi is one of the most AI forward VCs in the space, if not the most, I think the most. And I left 2 months ago to pursue personal investment in the physical layer of the physical inputs to AI. So I've closed 2 transactions in the copper supply chain. I'm looking right now and just finishing an investment memo for a new type of power delivery system for AI data centers. And I'm also looking at some of the AI powered hard industries, so physical industries, and how AI can make these physical industries better. So looking at things in material science, energy, etc.
Just because Alex, you just joined, I want to have, and well, we already had this question, but I want to get your opinion about it as well. From your perspective, and currently you are obviously a much earlier in the cycle. You are obviously an investor, so you are, I would say, very close to the fire as well. I'm wondering, what are you currently seeing in a market where you feel, well, there is a bunch of opportunity right there, but it's not a lot of people are essentially seeing it?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, all the physical stuff. I think pure, just like software, a lot of that's already been founded or created. If you're just starting a new company now and looking for VC funds, there's a good chance that you know, not 100% chance, but there's a good chance that you might be too late. And if you're doing your own small business, small to medium sized business, that's AI accelerated, good. But I really am focused on the physical inputs to AI and the way AI will accelerate the physical world. I think those have not yet been fully explored design spaces. And Bessemer, Bessemer Venture Partners actually just published a huge report on this earlier in the week. If I recommend everyone go read it, so you can see like where there might be some opportunities in the physical world, in the physical AI world, as well as software to help run these physical world stuff.
And do you have some examples of like physical AI? How does that look like, just to make it a little bit more concrete for the audience?
So, everyone knows about robotics, right? That's a huge category. I've got 15% of my portfolio in robotics startups. I also believe, like I mentioned earlier, in some of the critical minerals. So I talked about copper. I'm a big copper bull. And I found, I think, the leading startup in that space. I mentioned earlier new types of power delivery systems and like flesh and also power in general, energy systems that will power AI. All of these provide huge opportunities. I also think some of these like AI powered, I think that some of the AI research assistants that people are seeing in biotech and like material science will generate some really cool innovations in the physical world, whether it's new enzymes to catalyze reactions at lower temperatures, which is huge both in nuclear fusion as well as in like oil and gas and yeah, a bunch of other areas. But I think all that's really cool. I think to talk about biotech, I do think we will cure, quote unquote, cure cancer in the next 5 years, maybe 7 at the most, because of the unlocks that are happening from increased computation from AI, both Gen AI and like advancements in ML as well. And that was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to leave Delphi. Was earlier in the year I was diagnosed with cancer. Fortunately, it was a misdiagnosis, but I just realized that like I really wanted to be able to back some of these companies that would cure it, and I couldn't do that at Delphi.
Gotcha. Understood. There was a roller coaster of emotions. I was like, oh, wow. And then you said, but I was misdiagnosed. I was, okay. Luckily, it was misdiagnosed. There was a roller coaster for emotions in the 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, but that is actually very cool that, well, obviously not cool that it happened, but it's very interesting to see that you are sort of using something which is obviously, let's be honest, a very, well, awful experience but try to solve it for others, which might not be misdiagnosed. That's very honorable, actually. It's very, that's very cool.
I appreciate that. You know, I do want to touch on one other area, which is I do think because a lot of this audience is in crypto, so there are some really cool DeSci as well as like DPIN projects at the intersection of this, right? Like the bio protocol guys created one of the best AI powered like bio research agents. Recently, there was a spin out from bio protocol that I think is very interesting as well. That's working on ag bio using these AI research assistants. So I would keep my eye on that space. If you look at something called 375.ai, guys, disclosure, I'm both an investor as well as Delphi is an investor. They have a very bright future ahead of them. So they are a DePIN network of video cameras that collects information that's then being used to train AI models across a variety of industries. And they've got huge traction in the marketing space, but they're gaining huge traction in other industries as well. And so again, it's like, how can you use the physical world to collect data to make AI better? So it's the physical inputs to AI, and that's kind of my theme. But I wanted to put that out there for all the crypto people here, that you can get exposure to this because you know these projects all have tokens or another one, right? Ambient will soon, right? Ambient was the first true kind of like proof of work, useful proof of work AI protocol, and they're about. I can't say too much, but they're about to have some pretty interesting announcements coming out over the next like month or two. I would definitely suggest people keep an eye out for them. The founders are terrific. The founder, one of them, actually helped using ML methods, like a major railroad, save like several $100 million a year using his like AI algorithms. And now he's created like what I think is the most clean expression of an AI Bitcoin. The other founder was early engineer at Blend Labs, which is CockroachDB, one of the most used databases in the world, and did a lot of their enterprise like sales and adoption. So when it comes to trying to get both crypto and non-crypto devs using this useful proof of work, AI useful proof of work system, I can't think of a better team. So just kind of want, and disclosure investor as well, but just want to put that out there for people.
Absolutely, and I can only agree with that. But also here, we are partnered with Ambient. And for the audience, Travis, which has been a speaker earlier today, is a great mind. He was a little bit earlier today. He was talking about AI and payments, and I can only agree with Alex here about very solid team, absolutely very solid team, and not only solid but also very realistic. Which I really, really appreciate in AI, because that makes things much easier. And also, yeah, the marketing talk, we already have a little bit enough adding. Coming back, because coming back to the question which we had before you joined, Alex, was about, well, what operational shift or behavioral shift do you guys expect in the upcoming years, which AI will sort of force? That could be, for example, a behavioral change on the workforce. That could be on the social force. Anything you guys expect in the upcoming 2 years?
Yeah, I can start. I mean, I think every organization, if they haven't already done it, should definitely relook at all of their different departments. The most obvious one is your engineers. So making sure that, no one's actually really coding anymore. And they're using all the different coding tools. And we definitely have gone through that transformation the last, 6 months or so, where we look at how the different engineers are working, how do they coordinate with each other, how are they basically, more looking at like orchestrating or editing code. So that's one thing, but definitely the business team as well. A lot of our marketing now is, basically using a lot of intelligence that we gather from the market, using different AI agents. A lot of our outbound CRM, all of those. I think those transformations, definitely easier to come for smaller companies. But for the larger companies, of course, there's a lot more to think about in terms of, data privacy. How do you make sure you're compliant and all of those things. But I think that's the most obvious one, and everyone should be, constantly um, testing the different tools out there that are, being constantly shipped from, the major AI companies. And I think it's something that's really fun, but also makes each person as well as each company rethink a lot of different things, not just from like workflow processes, but also organizationally. What does that mean for how do I organize my teams? What is there's different roles that can almost be combined into one person. So, like product manager and engineer, product manager, and BD person. In some cases, those can all be one person could basically do multiple roles. So those are all the things that we're thinking about, and I think is really would be really interesting to see how that transforms a lot of the big industries and businesses out there over the next few years.
To add to that, right? I think I hope you guys can hear me now. Um,
Yeah, we can.
awesome. Yeah. So I think most of the people, when you talk about operational optimization in terms of large organization or even a smaller one, they talk about like AI replacing jobs, right? But I think that's very shallow to look in that way. I think AI is much more larger than that. Like think of before internet, like how companies use fax. And there was physical paperwork, there was manual coordination. People had to move around in the office and do stuff. Internet changed all of it, right? And AI is going to do the same thing, but more focused towards easier execution and easier decision making, right? You can use AI to make your decision making much more faster, which is very important in today's world. And I think that's what I would see as the biggest operational shift that would happen. If even like take a look at customer support. Customers will raise a ticket, it'll go through multiple people, it'll go to a manager and goes to a boss and stuff. AI cuts through all of that, right? You have better customer support. So, like this in every part of an organization, right? From the ops team, analysts, support team, coordinators, all of that would change. A 20% company would be much efficient, which is like fully implementing AI, would be much efficient compared to a 500% big, large corporate organization, right? And I think that's where we would see changes. We all talk about this one person company too that can happen, and I'm pretty sure this possible, and I've seen this already happening. In fact, I angeled into a company where this is are going to be two people, and they're going to expand maximum to about three over the next 2 to 3 years. So it's already happening, right? AI is reducing operational friction and is shifting how people behave, how people deal with problems. I think that's where we would see it'll turn into companies into intelligent systems, much more running towards based on optimization and intelligence than just think worrying about operations.
And I'm wondering, like from the operational side, I get it. Do you guys also expect a social shift? Um, for example, to give you a little bit of an idea where I'm hinting to. Earlier in the panel, earlier in the day, people were talking about, well, some of my friends, they just they use an AI to talk with. Do you guys also see like different pressures there? Because I can absolutely see people maybe using AI more as like a sort of a friend. Whenever they sort of have a problem, they can discuss it with an AI, that sort of stuff, which will obviously have significant differences on society and therefore have significant differences on the social life and social pressure, which obviously has impact on the working force and so forth.
I think it's for the good and the bad. The good side is that you can talk to an AI and ask the questions you probably worry about asking another human. You either think that you're bothering them too much, or you just don't want to be asking the same question again and again. It removes that friction that can be there, right? For example, if you're visiting a doctor and you have a question, you're not able to ask everything, right? Because there is social pressures there. The doctor might not be very friendly as you think you are, but you could ask an AI how much you want, whatever you think you need to ask, and any questions you might have, you can go ahead and ask the AI. You could have how many other opinions you want from these models. So I think that enabling that friction to go away is very important in certain social pressures. Unfortunately, in our world, we are very socially dependent. AI definitely can change that for the good. And obviously, there's certain cases where people might become antisocial, which we've seen happening because of social media, which could also be a case. But I guess uh, it's a human's responsibility to see how they can use AI for the better. And definitely, there's a lot of better in terms of how we can use AI for betterment of a social skill, for betterment of us dealing with various humans that we see across various things like legal, healthcare, or even just using AI as an assistant for you, right? So I definitely see a lot of societal benefits in that.
And as a closing statement, considering the time, we already went way over time. Um, if you guys were starting or investing in an AI or onboarding, because some of you onboard more companies, um, tomorrow in an AI product or company, what would you sort of look into? What would be very important for you guys? And what would you avoid? So if it's an investment side, what sort of projects would you say, well, that might be a little bit too much. If it's an onboarding side, well, that has already been built. I'm very much wondering what your guys' takes are, considering, well, obviously you are the experts here, and we would love to learn a little bit more how you guys sort of see how AI will evolve over time, and specifically in the product side, company side, and so forth.
I mean, I can start. So from
Oh, go ahead.
investments,
Go ahead.
right? Yeah, from investments, I find there's a lot of scale ups that need money, right? These are companies that were founded 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, that need money to hit that next level of growth. Um, from a startup perspective, it's much more difficult. The classic like AI wrapper question, like, will you just be uh, disintermediated by the big labs, hangs over everything at the startup level. So I think that's much more difficult to get to raise VC dollars for. And then, like I mentioned earlier, all these physical inputs to AI, right? And if anyone wants to talk about those, feel free to DM me. I have an investments platform where uh, people can come read, or will soon be able to read my research and stuff. But those are the areas that I'm looking at investing in.
Cool. Yeah, I'll go really quick. I guess first to avoid, I would definitely avoid where, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google Meta, they dominate because I think it's very difficult to compete, obviously with all the resources that they have. For me personally, I still think that having a really great, dependable and good user interface for essentially algo trading for retail is would be very helpful. Like for me personally, I just don't have all the time to monitor when major market news or macro news are coming out at, let's say, 8:30 on Friday, and other times, or when earnings reports are coming out, or major catalysts, and it's difficult to execute at those times. And so I still think that if there's an AI assistant or agent that can basically help loop together a bunch of things for me, such as like at this time, this is your portfolio, this is when the reports are coming out, this is when these macro data is coming out, this is when major like political news or whatnot is expected to occur. And then I will basically, based on your portfolio or based on your interest, rebalance your portfolio with certain limits that you set in place. And I think that that is something that I would love. I know like there's a lot of different hedge funds who do algo trading all the time, but especially with kind of this increasing blend between like DeFi, TradFi, whether it's like, the crypto companies getting into more tokenized equities, or the other way around. And especially with offshore capital increasingly being able to access, US assets. I think that this will be like increasingly a big area where there will be much more volume to come.
I guess I would look more towards anything that is working on specialization. Most of the projects today are focusing as a AI wrapper. Um, there is a lot of meat and specialization, which is just basically building custom applications that are specialized for one particular part of the industry, right? Like legal intelligence or like biotech research and reasoning, or even like cybersecurity agents, right? So anyway, there is domain specific AI is something that I would probably think as of interest, and that's where I think people should start focusing on for the next coming years.
Understood, understood. This will be the end of this panel. We already went over time by 15 minutes. So I would like to thank you all three for giving your great insights. Very cool to see where the opportunities will be. Very interested to see specifically from an investment side, but also from a project and product overview where you guys see the most opportunity. So thank you guys so much for your time and for your efforts for providing these very great insights. This also means this is going to be the end of the spaces, which has been 4.5 hours long. So you guys have done, we had over 30 speakers, and all of them have provided great